R naught factor, which is a factor by which, a virus multiplies. What is the R naught factor of compassion? How can we create a pandemic of love? And so that question of what is the narrative through which we are reading the challenges of the world today is the precursory sort of question. And then the second, I think, a follow-up question would be, where have you experienced this compassion in the recent months? Whether you have done an act of compassion, whether you have received an act of compassion, or whether you've just observed an act of compassion. Here was a cellist in Maryland who says, I can't do concerts, but you know what? I'm just going to go out on my front porch and play every day. And people would just come and listen. This is a fellow in San Francisco who says, I always wanted to have a coffee shop. And now that I'm stuck quarantined at home, I'm going to make this window in my little apartment as my coffee shop opening. And he would lean down with these arm extenders and give coffee to people that are passing by. This is a 99-year-old war veteran in UK who says, I can barely walk, and he needs a walker, but I want to do something. And, before my 100th birthday, maybe I can walk laps around my backyard and raise 1,000 euros, right? 1,000 pounds. He ended up raising 32 million. And he got hundreds of thousands of cards for his birthday, became an icon. But it's this 99-year-old guy who's doing laps in his backyard for the frontline health workers. This is the kid also organizing. She had a whole birthday parade of her neighbors because she's 7 years old. She's not going to have a birthday party, but her neighbors decided to do this whole car parade. But she goes a step further and she says, how about we create a whole group of these so we can do it for all the other kids. And so now they have a group of cars that do these birthday parades for everyone, all the kids in the neighborhood. This is Miss England, beauty contest winner, but she's also a doctor. And so she says, you know what, I'm going to re-register as a doctor so I can work in the front lines. Prime Minister of Ireland did the same thing. He actually re-registered as a doctor, and 1 day a week he goes and he volunteers. This is Jacinda Ardern from New Zealand Prime Minister. She decided to take a 20% pay cut in solidarity. These are all these workers who work. This is a very touching story. In the very early days of the pandemic, these guys were making protective equipment for healthcare workers, and they decided to quarantine with each other for 28 straight days. So the world has more, so the health workers have more face masks and suits to take care of themselves. And another thing that we see all over is these unexpected bridges. This is a Muslim man and a Jewish man, both paramedics, just came out of helping a 77-year-old in Israel, praying together. And in fact, we see now that Israel is sending a lot of business to the Gaza Strip, and they're starting to cooperate economically even. So unexpected bridges in South Africa, all these warring gangs that decided to call truce. The UN Secretary General decided to, he put out a call early on saying, hey, let's end wars right now. This is not the time to be fighting internally. And a dozen countries with warring factions says, okay, we're not going to fight right now. And unexpected bridges, like here are cops in Florida, cop cars. They create a shape of a heart to thank the nurses. And it's like, when was the last time you saw cops doing this kind of stuff? And here, I think I have one or two more slides here, but this was really touching too. In the potato famine in the 18th century, a Native American tribe sent, I think, $147 or something of that sort to Ireland. And these folks in Ireland today, they realize the Navajo Nation in particular is hardest hit in America. We actually have volunteers there, part of our community who are working on the ground. And these folks in Ireland said, let's say thank you back for those $147, and they put up a GoFundMe page, and I think it's $3.3 million that they are sending to this tribe as to say thank you for supporting us during the potato famine. In the previous century. These are just some of examples of so many people doing so many things. It's everywhere. How do we tap into this ourselves? So, how are you seeing the world from your lens? How are you responding? And what is that spark of compassion that is igniting in you? Whether you've observed it, whether you've received act of kindness, or you've done an act of kindness.